Hello, folks, and thank you for joining this special edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, and I want to thank my sponsors real quickly before we get into this video. I want to thank MyPillow.com, where you can enter promo code Lumberjack and save up to 66%. I love the pillows, especially the travel pillow that I will be using while I'm out elk hunting, and I love the towels as well. And I want to also thank Freedom Hill Coffee. And you can follow the link in the description below, or I will pin that comment as well. But freedomhillcoffee.com and enter promo code Lumberjack, or follow that link, and you will get some great coffee. All right. Thanks so much, folks, and I'll see you when I get back.
Well, good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, with my special guest, Constitution Vet. This is a pre-recorded episode while I go chase elk in Montana. I wanted to still give you guys some good stuff. So we're going to talk history, because those who repeat the mistakes of history, well, they're not that bright. They obviously didn't read. All right. So, hey, folks, here we go. Constitution Vet, take it away. We're going to Nuremberg Code, right?
Yes, sir. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. On my channel, the most recent video I made.
Subscribe. It's in the description.
Yes,
okay,
please
there's
do
a link in the description. Go subscribe to this. He puts up 2 videos a week. Good education. Good stuff.
So the most recent video I made was over a certain topic. And it does involve some code words, but that's okay. You'll figure it out if you watch the video. But one part of that video involves this thing here called the Nuremberg Code. Now, a lot of people don't know what this is, but that's okay. Today, we're going to just analyze this code together. It won't take long, but there are certain things in this that you will find very interesting. So without any further ado, let's get started. This is the Nuremberg Code. This code was created after World War II, after the Nuremberg trials. Basically, what happened is the Allies basically put all the war criminals of Germany on trial. And in the end, a certain code was created. This code pertains to forced medical experiments on human beings. Before we dive into this, the overview point of this code is basically you will not conduct medical experiments on humans without their consent. That's it. That's the code. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. That was in the 40s. Well, later on in the 1960s, the UN officially adopted this code as international law. Now, this is very important. The US is still on the Human Rights Council. That was the council that approved this law.
Hey, isn't Iran on the Human Rights Council too? I mean, I'm not sure. They were. I mean, the Human Rights Council has become a little bit of a joke, is my only point. I mean, but anyways, I digress. The UN is, I'm not going to sidetrack us. Let's move.
But you know what, though? That sidetrack is actually very interesting, because regardless of your views on that Human Rights Council, the laws approved by the council are considered international law. Now, again, do not take this as me being a legal expert. I'm not. And I'm not giving legal advice. What we are going to do...
Or are we giving up American sovereignty?
Right.
But
what we are going to do is take a look at this law together. So first and foremost, the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. This makes it very clear. Consent. Okay. We're not going to read this entire thing, but what we will do is go through the first paragraph. This is crucial. This means that the person involved should have the legal capacity to give consent, should be so situated as to be able to exercise free power of choice without the intervention of any element of force, F word, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior form of constraint or coercion. Let me read that one more time. Without any form of constraint or coercion. And the person should have sufficient knowledge of what is going to happen in this experiment. And they should know full well what is in the thing that's being given to them as the experiment. Let's skip down here for a moment here. The duty and responsibility for ascertaining the quality of the consent rests upon each individual who initiates, directs, or engages in the experiment. It is a personal duty and responsibility which may not be delegated to another with impunity. So, what does all this mean? Well, the main debate that has come from this is the term experimental. Please, I encourage you, go check out my last video where I talk about that. I'll share my screen here one more time. But
Constitution Vet, it's linked below. Go to his channel. Okay.
In that last video I did for my channel, I provide all the resources, the links, the research, everything, so that you can go and look for yourself. The current debate right now is on the word experimental. Are certain things being put into your body? Are they experimental or not? That's the debate. See, the side that argues against the Nuremberg Code says, well, no, these are okay because they're not experimental. They're fully tested, they're approved. Experts say they're amazing. But are they approved by the F period D period other letter? Can I say FDA?
Yeah, I think so.
FDA.
Lord only knows, man. We're living in strange times, but I believe so.
Gotta be careful. But if that thing is not approved by the FDA, it is by definition experimental. Now, I will make this very clear. In that same video that I keep referring to, I also provide documentation from the FDA to the certain company that has an approved version. It's not fully approved. You actually read the material, only a small portion of that company's thing is fully approved. The rest of it, which are still under use as experimental emergency use, they can keep issuing that thing. So my point is, guess what? If it's not approved by the FDA, it is by definition experimental. And if that thing is experimental, then they are violating that code. If they are forcing it on you. If a certain business is telling you, you will get fired if you don't get this thing, that is called coercion. You don't consent to that. Now, let's just say you do want to go. If you do want to go get this thing, that's your call. That's your choice. But when you go, you have every right to ask them, what's in this? If they can't tell you, you have every right to walk away. Because, again, if they cannot tell you what is in that thing, they are violating the Nuremberg Code, which is international law. So, bottom line, this is a decision between you and your doctor. Even the people at the CDC say that on their own website. If you keep reading it, it says all of this is just recommendations. That's it. This is ultimately a decision between you and your health professional, you and your doctor. So, if you wish to find unique ways to fight against this form of tyranny, I highly encourage you to go check out my most recent video. I go into way more in depth with this. Point being, this code is international law. This code is currently maintained in the UN Human Rights Council. America is on that council. And the whole point to this, no medical experimental procedure can be issued to you without your consent. You can find this code very easily. Just go on DuckDuckGo and you'll find it. Now, one last thing too. One last thing that's very important to discuss.
By the way, when you keep talking consent, I do want to just make a quick, take back a step in American history here. They govern folks at what? The consent of the governed. Okay? Our government, they govern at the consent of the governed.
Of the people.
Of the people. Anyways, go on.
So
just thought that was important to note.
Right. One last thing, too. This is just a fun, interesting thing that happened recently, like very recently. If all these things are so good, if all these things are so amazing and so good, then why did the top 2 officials at the FDA resign? One of them worked for the FDA for over 30 years. The other one in charge of the FDA worked in that position for like 11 to 15 years, I believe. But the top 2 officials of the FDA recently resigned their posts. Why? Of all times, you would think they would stay. Why did they quit? I can't stop thinking about that. So that's my take on it, guys. You can do with it what you will, but that's the actual code itself. And it is international law, and if it's not approved by the FDA, it is by definition experimental. If you take something that is not approved, they are not liable. You can't sue them. That's the kicker.
Well, it gets, even more so with, quote unquote vaccines. They have exemption that was signed under Reagan too. So even if it's approved as that, there's, the taxpayers on the hook is on the taxpayer, not the company, which is another completely crazy thing. Be a whole other issue to get into, but we're done with this one, folks. So, hey, thanks for joining us again. Remember, subscribe, share the content around. Down in the description below, I will have the link to Constitution Vet's channel, so you can go over there and subscribe to him as well. Get your twice a week history lesson. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. Peace out.